whatever happens to the salmon in Lahula will also happen to the salmon in Madii Lii and will also impact the salmon that we have here.
Each of us are part of that salmon cycle, and we're all salmon people.
Our greatest weapon is our culture, and we have to practice it.
The government of British Columbia is seeking to dramatically expand its natural gas industry in developing thousands of new fracking wells, massive pipelines, and numerous liquefied natural gas export terminals on the coast. Natural gas development is being promoted as a pathway to revitalization, but is already dividing communities that are struggling from failed resource industries. These projects would primarily impact the territories of Indigenous nations. As they are the holders of the rights and title to their lands, they are the rightful decision makers in regards to industrial development. Pristine rivers would be fragmented by pipeline crossings, and estuaries would be disrupted from LNG export facilities. In particular, the Skeena watershed, a river system which has the second largest salmon run in the province, is threatened by numerous projects. Within the Skeena watershed, multiple Indigenous reoccupation camps have been initiated to prevent the development of fracking infrastructure. These initiatives, led by traditional hereditary chiefs, are supported by thousands of people across the world. Near the headwaters of the Maurice River, the Unist'ot'en clan of the Wet'suwet'en Nation has constructed a camp to prevent multiple fracked gas and tar sands pipelines from destroying their territory.
Unist'ot'en is the name of my people, which means people of the headwaters, or another term they use is the people that live the furthest away. And we've been living in our cabin for almost 7 years now, and the Unist'ot'en name is known worldwide, that people really believe in what we're doing because they know it doesn't just impact us here. What's going on is impacting everybody right around the globe.
The pipelines that they want to push through the territories here would expand exponentially the fracking activities happening in northeastern BC, as well as the tar sands operations in northern Alberta. The Arctic Ocean being poisoned because of those projects.
We're all connected by these waters, so we can't think that just because our neighbors downstream are impacted by fracking that we're not impacted. We are impacted because that water flows into the ocean.
This is where our ancestors lived. This is where they thrived. They took care of these lands long before we did, like thousands and thousands of years before we ever came. And they've always had the expectation at some time long into the future that the Wet'suwet'en will continue to do that. And we're fulfilling their expectations. We're obligated to be out here to do what we're doing.
The healing center idea came up with my family when we've been talking about it for years, to develop a structure so that we could have holistic healing on the land, so that we could have spiritual, mental, and cultural healing. If we heal the people, then we'll heal the lands. Well, they can't just push the projects ahead because they have, according even to their own laws, they have to have consent, and they don't have consent from our people. And even if they are trying to strike deals up with people that aren't the legitimate decision makers for these lands, they still will not come through.
On the Susquehanna River, the Lup'Kadziwis House Group of the Gitxsan Nation has shut down access to their Madii Lii territory to the proponent of the Prince Rupert gas transmission pipeline project. A critical part of the Skeena River estuary is the flora bank, an extremely sensitive habitat for wild salmon. The Gitwal'yot tribe, one of the allied Tsimshian tribes of Lac Kw'alaams, has set up a camp on Lac Ula, also known as Lelu Island, to prevent surveying and construction for a massive LNG export facility that could completely destroy this ecosystem. Pacific Northwest LNG has received federal approval, despite a vote from the Lac Kw'alaams tribes to reject a $1 billion offer to sign on to this project. Legal challenges from the Skeena Corridor nations and their allies are now being developed to appeal this decision. The proponents, Petronas, still need to secure a final investment decision before continuing with the development of this project.
I'm sitting here on Lac Ula, Lelu Island. This is in the territory of the Gitwal'yot tribe of the 9 allied tribes who are coastal Tsimshian. I'm not from this tribe, but it affects my family as I grew up on a salmon and I breathe air from this region. A friend from the coast here kept bringing my attention to this project and the fact that it would destroy our wild salmon runs. So actually in the summer, 6 of us got together and we phoned the hereditary chief, the Samoyed, Don Wesley. And we asked his permission to occupy the island and asked him to come with us and stop this project by practicing our Aboriginal rights and title on the island. Part of the backbone of this occupation and movement has been resurrecting our hereditary systems. So when we wanted to occupy the island, we didn't contact the Band Council and we didn't contact the province of BC or government of Canada. We contacted the hereditary chief who holds rights and title to the island, and the house leaders, the Lekwungen have been instrumental in helping run the camp. The vision is to have a cultural center that will be here forever and possibly a scientific research center to help people learn more about salmon and the importance of the estuary. Flora bank is sediment from the last ice age, and it's sand that is held in place by a balance of the river flow and ocean currents. On Flora bank there's a lot of eelgrass. It's a long ocean grass that is really important for salmon during 2 stages of their life cycle. There's eelgrass all over this estuary, but the eelgrass on Flora bank has been found to be the most critical for salmon. There's 80 times more sockeye smolts in the Flora bank eelgrass than elsewhere in the estuary. Tsimshian from the 9 tribes some of them have known for generations that this is a really important area and that it's important to protect, and they fought to defend this region. We've had to really unite because there's been a lot of divide and conquer strategies from government and industry trying to keep us from fighting for our home together. But it's great that we can come together and get to know each other and learn from each other.
Our salmon, they spawn up here and then they swim all the way through these rivers, and then they go in through the Morris, the Buckling and the Skeena, and then into the ocean, and then at Flora Banks they get used to the salt water before they swim up to Alaska, and then they come back again and they repeat the cycle every 4 years.
It's a beautiful cycle. But like I said, whatever happens down there happens here as well.
We're all protecting the salmon, we're all protecting our water, and we're all protecting our way of life.
Hereditary chiefs and speakers from Madii Lii and Unist'ot'en come here and give us advice and help us in ways. That gave us confidence and helped us realize we needed to practice our food harvest here and any other parts of our culture we can.
Despite government and industry claims of widespread First Nation support for LNG development, the hereditary leadership of these communities stand in firm and clear opposition. Ignoring their responsibilities to respect Indigenous self-determination, the government of BC is intent on developing its oil and gas plan, which includes exploring the Nechako and offshore shale gas basins for extraction. Industry has previously attempted to begin natural gas development in the Bowser Basin, but these plans were stopped by Indigenous nations protecting the sacred headwaters region. Any further development of natural gas would be exported overseas or used to fuel future tar sands extraction. Recently, the world's largest pipeline company, Enbridge, acquired most of the natural gas pipelines in British Columbia, giving them control of a network of pipelines that connect the tar sands to the west coast. The federal and BC governments have also issued final construction permits for the Site C dam, which can be used to power fracking and tar sands operations. The Treaty 8 First Nations have ongoing legal challenges to the Site C dam and have not given consent for this project. In approving the Site C dam and the Pacific Northwest LNG projects, the governments of Canada are violating the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. As was evident in Elsipogtog, the governments of Canada are more than ready to use violence in order to develop resource extraction projects, a recurring aspect of colonization which has never stopped. Canada needs to be held accountable for its numerous abuses of Indigenous people, as well as of the environment. People around the world are supporting the initiatives of Indigenous nations asserting their authority to protect their lands and waters. But to remain successful, these nations require continued fundraising and widespread support.
There are many ways to help support our occupation. It's been a really challenging year, but we've occupied this island and defended Flora Bank for over 10 months now, and we plan to continue. One of the best ways to help support is to come here and help us occupy the island, help with land defense if possible, but daily activities and construction. Also, people can help pressure the governments of BC and Canada to respect the hereditary rights and title holders here.
If you can't physically come up here, because we could use volunteers of whatever skill set you have, whether you're a carpenter, electrician, plumber, or even if you just got willing hands to help with the labor, we welcome anybody to come and help out where you can. And if you can't come up here physically, help research about these industries and tell the truth about what fracking is, because the mainstream media doesn't tell the truth about how destructive this industry is.
We have to acknowledge all the people who have been up here over the last 7 years to assist us in all their different ways. We're out here because of them. And we're out here because we know that the survival of our species is dependent on people like us doing things like this.